1969, Speedway. The first 3 games on this list are very dodgy when it comes to referring to Formula 1, therefore take these with a grain of salt. I wanted to bring something new to the countless F1 games evolution videos, so here you go. You drive a very old Formula 1 car on a very simple track, trying to run as many miles as possible without crashing. It becomes rather repetitive after you get good in the game, since once you pass 1000 miles, the counter goes visually back to 0. But a pre-1970s game is a cool game. 1974, Gran Trak 10. This is the very first digital game on this list, and boy was it controversial. The point of this game is once again very simple. You drive a Formula 1 car around the track, although from the footage I found it looks more like a tank, and try to get the best score possible. What's particularly impressive about this game from 1974 is that there's an actual working gear stick, which you need to use to shift between reverse, first, and second. You might think that such a complex game for that time would do very well, but no! Gran Trak 10 became infamous as the game that almost bankrupted Atari by losing them over $500,000, which adjusted to 2023's inflation is over $3 million. 1975, Speed Race. This game takes the title as the first vertical scrolling game ever. Technically, this is Subway Surfer's great-great-grandfather. The aim of the game is to drive your F1 car on the straight patch of road while avoiding collisions with other cars. There's a 90-second time limit, and once the time is up, your speed and number of collisions are somehow calculated into a score. It even has 2 difficulty modes, easy and hard, which puts this game among the first ever to include such a feature. Speed Race was so impressively complex for the time that they raised the play price from 50 yen to 100 yen in Japan. That translates to about 35 cents to 75 cents US. 1976, F-1. And here we go, the first official Formula 1 game on this list, and it only took us half a page of the script. F-1 goes back a few steps from the previous titles and provides a good old-fashioned analog experience. This video I found shows how the game works perfectly, so big shout out to Billy7. Once again, the aim of the game is to drive your car past all the other slowpokes without crashing into them. It's also the first Formula 1 game to feature cockpit view instead of you being able to see the whole car. Finally, F-1 actually brought some good revenue, as its sequel, F-1 Mac, released a year later, brought massive commercial success to Atari. 1979, Monaco GP. This action-packed game was Sega's answer to Atari's success. Instead of just racing on regular circuits like some simulation plebs, this game brings Formula 1 to icy, muddy tracks full of tunnels and dangers. The AI drivers get smarter and quicker after each round you win, making it more challenging to actually complete the whole game. Monaco GP became extremely successful for quite some years actually, and some would say that the fiery rivalry between Atari and Sega really took off after the massive success of this game. 1980, Monte Carlo. You see how legendary of a track Monaco really is? We barely scratched the surface of the 80s, and there are already 2 games named after the track. In this game, you actually have a fully working gear stick with 4 gears, and shifting at the right time is essential, as if your shifts are off, it will actually slow you down quite significantly. Once you're in 4th gear, however, the car is incredibly tricky to control, resulting in almost no reaction time given if there is a car right in front of you. The aim is to drive as fast as possible before the fuel runs out. Same exact boring concept, I know, but come on, we're barely in the 80s. (1981) Turbo. Sega's answer to yet another Atari success. You can see that the point of view is changing toward more modern standards behind the cars. The aim of this game is that since you had such a poor start and everyone else passed you, you must now pass as many cars as you can in the allotted time. Crashes bring out yellow flags, and while the flag is out, you aren't allowed to pass anyone. After the first level, you actually start losing lives for crashes, and sometimes an ambulance would overtake you and stop randomly, resulting in you either crashing and losing a life or using ultimate instinct to dodge it. 1982, pole position. Namco's masterpiece marked their entry into the Formula 1 gaming world. This game is by many referred to as the first ever sim racing game. Realistic tricky handling, gear shifts, and an amazing gaming experience made pole position a massive success with quite some sequels released later on. You first have to run a qualifying lap around Fuji Speedway to be allowed to race, and the race itself was the most realistic experience anyone has ever had at that point in time. Maybe that's why the development took 3 years in 1982. 1983, Chequered Flag. Now you might think that we went backwards on the graphics a bit, but the reason is that we went from arcade machines to personal computers in the 80s. But don't get fooled by the visual simplicity. 10 different tracks to drive, 3 cars to choose from, and a driving simulation like never before. You can both run out of fuel and overheat the engine, causing damage to the car. Scion Software had no idea what they started, as they carry the legacy of the first ever PC Formula 1 game. 1984, F-1 race. In this very simple yet for some reason very beautiful game, the concept is again simple. You get a set time for you to complete 2 laps of each course in order to progress to the next level. You know, we're still in the silly era of Formula 1 games, since the cars have absolutely no problem reaching speeds at like 500 kilometers whatsoever. That's 310 miles per hour for you Americans out there. What's also interesting is that this game was being developed alongside pinball. It was prioritized because the higher-ups thought it would do better than pinball. Oh, were they wrong. (1984) Grand Prix Manager. We stay in 1984 because this game right here marks the dawn of F1 manager games. Released just 2 years after the first ever manager game called Football Manager, it follows the same principles. Run your own Formula 1 team, manage the finances, the drivers, and the sponsors. There's a fun quirk that this game has that even modern F1 managers don't, and that is negotiating how much money a sponsor will give you. Depending on the sponsor's satisfaction, you might be allowed to ask for more money than usual, but if you overshoot, the relationship goes down. A really fun mechanic in this otherwise monotone, teletext looking boy. (1985) Formula 1. Don't get fooled by the name of this game, it's yet another F1 manager. This one though, instead of teletext and ear rape sounds, also provides visuals. Sure, you can't see the whole track, just the finish line, but that's what being at the pit wall was like in the 80s. So in a way, you get a nice overview of the race, and most importantly, a bird's eye view of the pit stops as well. 1986, World Grand Prix. Not too much is known about this game since it was as average as a game can be. You are put behind the wheel of a generic 1986 racing car and you race against your opponents. Basically, this game is as raw as a game could get at the time. But since the demand was for more crazy game with oil slicks on the track and racing on ice at a 500 kilometers per hour, it didn't do very well on a global scale. 1987, F1 Spirit, the road to Formula 1. I know you geeks. This year brought games that were objectively much better both gameplay-wise and graphics-wise. Like for example, Final Lap by Namco. The reason I chose to include this one instead is that it was probably the first ever racing game with progression all the way up to F1. You need to race through various other racing series, make a name for yourself, and only then are you allowed to race in Formula 1. A very interesting idea and a very different gameplay experience. (1988) Winning Run. The first 3D shaded polygons are in the game, baby! Namco took their time developing a game instead of releasing the same thing every year, and boy did it pay off. The aim of the game is finally the same as the aim of Formula 1 itself. No timers or levels based on how well you did. You just set a difficulty, qualify with a time, and then race to finish first on any track of your choice. The first proper sandbox Formula 1 game. 1989, F1 Manager. Yes boys, here we go, another manager game. After a few years of silence, the manager genre makes a return to Formula 1. This time, the graphics have evolved quite a lot from the teletext in 1984. You can actually buy and make your car part by part and upgrade them separately. There's also an option to watch your drivers from the cockpit camera, much like in the F1 2022 manager game. What excites me most about this old manager game is the fake nostalgia it carries. I never played the game, I wasn't even born yet, but it seems to summarize the 80s perfectly. (1990) Final Lap 2. I'm gonna pay my respects to the Final Lap franchise by at least including the second iteration, since the first one got beaten by a lame game just because it had a progression system. The graphics of this game are absolutely beautiful, even though the cornering looks fishy to say the least. If you had friends, which seems to have been easier as a gamer back then, you could connect up to 4 machines into a single race. Just imagine how hanging out at the arcade with the boys must have been back in the late 80s and early 90s. It makes me kinda sad I missed the era. And with this, I want to ask anyone watching this video that was lucky enough to live in the era of arcades and visited them, whether regularly or just a few times, to leave a comment saying how it was for us Gen Z fans. I love hearing about these retro experiences, and I'd love it if you shared your stories with us. That being said, and the video being interrupted already, I'd also like to ask you all to like and subscribe if you're enjoying this video, and also share your own experience with any of the games on this list, or even those which have been left out. Thank you very much, and let's continue. (1991) Formula 1 Grand Prix. This game brought the beautiful 3D shaded polygons onto the consoles and comfort of your own home. You could tweak almost anything on your car, like the wing settings, gear ratios, tire compounds, suspension settings, and way more. The tweaking part was more for the hardcore fans, which there weren't many of back in the day. Fans also often reported that this game has amazing handling, and while it looks a lot like Winning Run from 1988, it drives much better and is overall more enjoyable. 1992. Super F1 Hero. First of all, I must say, deciding which game to put in the 1992 slot was incredibly hard. Not because there would be any super strong candidates, but because in 1992, 23 F1 games were released. 23! How is anyone meant to catch up with that? Anyway, let's talk about this game instead. You can see that not everyone has hopped on the train of 3D shaded polygons, and some still wanted the 2.5D experience. This game is the prime example of you either adapt or get left behind, which is exactly what happened to Very, the studio behind this game, as they went bankrupt just 5 years later in 1997. (1993) Formula 1. Yes, yet another game with a creative title. This one, however, is officially licensed by the FIA. The racing simulation got a lot better with this game, both in physics and gameplay. 4 difficulty levels, 12 tracks, and a lot of fun. It has been deemed the most realistic Formula 1 game experience at the time. And with races being 7 laps long, the experience lasted a lot longer, giving you much more value for your money spent at the arcade. 1994. Formula 1 World Championship Beyond the Limit. This game's gameplay truly gets close to Formula 1. At the start of the game, you need to run a test lap around a fictional racetrack called Sega Park Circuit. The time you set will then determine which teams will offer you a seat, and after you choose one, that's the team for the first season. Then based on your performance during the season, better teams will offer you a seat or you will be fired and the game is over. It's a nice touch that you can actually lose the game completely, and adds some extra pressure. (1995) Grand Prix Manager. Business boys, yet another manager game. Back in the 90s, the developer of this game, Microprose, was something like Codemasters is to us now. They developed all the Grand Prix games, were praised for their realism and beautiful textures, and were also in charge of the manager games. And boy, were they good. 1996. Grand Prix 2, the same developer in their golden years. During this year, 1996, they also released the Grand Prix Manager 2, but since it was basically the same game with added visuals and bug fixes, we'll take a look at Grand Prix 2. Again, a very smooth driving game with visuals that are pleasing to look at, with its season set in 1994. Sadly, since this game is focused on static teams, liveries, and drivers, therefore Ayrton Senna and Roland Ratzenberger, who both died in San Marino in 1994, are not included in the game, and neither is Nigel Mansell, who was just a part-time Williams driver at the time. (1997) F1 Racing Simulation. As Microsoft Windows started dominating the home computer market, more and more game developers were able to focus on one platform and perfect the game on it. Windows 95 provided amazing performance for the time, and as you can see, the games reflect that. There isn't much to the game story-wise, as the entire focus was on realistic handling. Some claim that this was one of the games that started the whole simulation madness that is very much present and powerful in the racing community to this day. (1998) Monaco Grand Prix. This game, also known as Racing Simulation 2, is a direct successor to the previous game. It might look like the same visually, but the physics are improved drastically. It's from a time when Ubisoft still cared more about reputation rather than money, and when games weren't as commercialized as they are today. They also couldn't obtain a license to use real F1 cars and drivers, but they did obtain a license to use the official Formula 1 sponsors. How that is possible, I have no idea. There was definitely something fishy going on. (1999) Formula 1 99. Unlike the previous game, this one actually obtained the proper license to show real drivers and real teams. They also got the commentator at the time, Murray Walker, to voice himself in the game. A brand new studio was assigned the quest of creating this piece, since the previous one responsible for Formula 1 98, which isn't mentioned in this video, has done a shit job. It was a disappointment, and 99 was supposed to be a better year than 98. And guess what? It was! (2000) F1 Manager. Managers assemble! We got a brand new F1 Manager game. This one has been specifically designed for the player to play 10 years of in-game time. It starts with the 1999 season and goes all the way to the 2009 season. It upgraded the contract negotiation system by a country mile, although they still work on a first-come first-serve basis. You now also need to hire chief designers and engineers and oversee their work manually. 2001. F1 2001. The pre-birth era of the official F1 game starts here. Everything a Formula 1 fan might want was in this game. Practice laps, practice starts, manual shifting practice, qualifying, racing, and micromanaging your driver. The first modern-like F1 game. It includes all of the 17 tracks that Formula 1 raced on at the time, and all the drivers on the grid, obviously. You can choose whether to play as someone on the grid, or create a completely new driver yourself. 2002. Grand Prix 4. The last iteration of the Grand Prix series brought its end to itself. Too many bugs, dodgy land play, CPU heavy graphics that almost never went above 30 FPS unless you had a NASA computer. These are all the areas where the game failed. However, when the game succeeded, it succeeded in style. The driving physics were greatly improved, and most of all, wet weather driving. When you play the game today, it looks beautiful and smooth, just the way it was intended to. Some hardcore fans even go as far as claiming it to be the last true F1 sim game. (2003) F1 Challenge 99-02. This game is basically exactly what it sounds like, a Formula 1 career of you, the player, over the years from 1999 to 2002. And you know how each gaming genre and subgenre has the one old game that hardcore fans play to this day thanks to mods? Well, this is the one in Formula 1 gaming. Fans that hate on modern games flock to this one to play against each other in older, more nostalgic sounding machinery. 2004. Formula 1 04. Now, for the first time since 1974, we only have a single F1 related release in the entire year. Graphics and mechanics are getting more and more complex, and fans are becoming more demanding. This is the first game by Studio Liverpool where you can actually play as yourself, a player of your choice over multiple seasons, even though it's the 2004 season over and over again. (2005) Formula 1 05. During the golden age of PlayStation 2 games, F1 games brought innovation with each year that passed. This game's career mode has been completely revamped. You start in one of the smallest teams, Minardi, Jordan or Red Bull Racing, kind of ironic in 2023, and then eventually work your way up by setting good lap times or impressing the other team's bosses with your performances in the races. There are also classic cars which can be unlocked by winning the World Championship. 2006 Formula 1 Championship Edition. Don't get fooled by the title, this is just F1 2006 hiding in the code by the name of Championship Edition. It's the first Formula 1 game on the PlayStation 3 with improved graphics, reflections, wet weather effects and so on. The career mode starts very similarly to the previous game, but now you have to run a few test laps before a team chooses you. This game received poor reviews and apparently wasn't much fun at all. 2008 Pole Position Remix. We don't get an officially F1 related game in all of 2007 and technically all of 2008 too, if it wasn't for this piece. And it's a mobile game, so you decide whether it counts. The aim of the game is basically the same as the original Pole Position from 1982. Run a qualifying lap and then race. It was a nice game to celebrate old games and how far the gaming industry has gotten in those years. 2009 F1 2009. Okay, so for some reason unknown to mankind, this game was released primarily on the Wii. I have no idea why, the developers have no idea why, nobody has an idea why, but at least we know it received mixed reviews. The gameplay features a fair play system, which would adjust the difficulty according to how well you were doing in the game, so you were never left behind by a minute, but you could never lead by a minute either. This game just brought some much needed evolution to the franchise, led by Codemasters. (2010) F1 2010. This Formula 1 game seemed like a regular sequel to the previous F1 games but brought something nobody had expected. The most complex weather system in a racing game ever. If it started raining, the track would gradually lose grip, and in some areas, more than others. After the rain has almost dried up, there would still be standing water in dips on the track, and areas with shade would dry up more slowly than areas exposed to sunlight. Many players in the community cherish the weather system and claim that it's the best one in an F1 game ever. (2011) IGP Manager. Now, I could just continue with the official mainstream F1 games, but I find this one much more interesting. Yes, as you may have noticed, I love manager games, and this one takes the department to the next level. It's a huge step up from the last one, as you can probably see for yourself. The developers couldn't get an official license, so the teams and the drivers are all fictional. The important part is though, the progress is there. (2012) F1 Race Stars. Oh yes, many of you are going to hate me, and honestly, I don't blame you for it. This might probably be the most controversial F1 game in the last 2 decades or so. The worst version of Mario Kart. These tracks have loops, spins, and you can pick up power-ups and weapons to shoot at your opponents. There was a critical lack of content as the game got repetitive quickly, and before you had the time to let it sink in, you'd already have beaten the last level. 2013 F1 2013. A very good game from the series defining the franchise. It wasn't too great, an enjoyable game with 19 original tracks plus 4 classic tracks. All the cars from that generation of F1 are included, with classic cars on top of that. A very classic, raw Formula 1 game experience. (2014) F1 2014. Yes, you manager freaks will be furiously commenting about there being a manager game in this year, but honestly, it wasn't that good. Instead of that, let's cover the 2014 season and what it meant for Formula 1. In real life, Mercedes started dominating, and some teams like Marussia and Caterham were in deep financial trouble. The game does not account for any of that, and you can race for either of these and win if you're good enough. Red flags made an appearance for the first time, allowing the race to be stopped and restarted if there was a crash too severe. 2015, F1 2015. Formula 1's gaming debut on the PS4 and Xbox One certainly didn't go as planned. The AI has received a massive overhaul after being criticized for being too dumb, but the remake made them so aggressive it hurt the game's reputation entirely. The experience is still fun, and if you're a Formula 1 fan and want to play something older, this game will still give you hours of entertainment. It was only good for an average rating of 6 out of 10 though. 2016, Motorsport Manager. Now I know F1 2016 was released this year, but instead of focusing on the same franchise over and over again, I want to bring something new to the table. Motorsport Manager, although not an official F1 game by far, stays one of the most fun manager games that I have ever played. You can race in fake Formula 1, Formula 2 or Formula 3, and if that isn't your cup of tea, you can try managing teams in the GT series or even Endurance series. There's so much flexibility in this game, and even if you're aiming to win all the championships with your own team, it would take you at least 8 to 10 years of in-game time. (2017) F1 2017. This was the first Formula 1 game to ever be used in official esports, sanctioned by the FIA. And guess what? It still is to this day. Otherwise, a very normal yet very fun F1 game. Features in-game commentary from the official commentators David Croft and Anthony Davidson to accompany you along the long cutscenes of circuits. Everything else is there. The teams, the drivers, the racetrack, classic cars, all this fun nonsense. Before the release, Codemasters held a helmet design competition, and the 7 winning designs appeared in the game. (2018) F1 2018. 2018 was the first full year of the halo in Formula 1, which brought quite some controversy to the sport and to the game itself, since you couldn't see your car the way you could before and people hate change. It also revamped the career progression system, with the player now earning development points and being able to choose which part of the car they want upgraded in exchange for the points. Basically, the modern F1 progression system started here with F1 2018. 2019, F1 Clash. Yes, yet another mobile game which I couldn't find proper gameplay videos for. This all is about getting lucky with the loot crates, upgrading your cars and your drivers, and dueling with other players head-on in races. It's a simple but fun concept, crossed with strategy, frustration, and luck. 2020, F1 2020. Probably the most liked F1 game of all time, F1 2020 if COVID never happened simulator. This might be my favorite F1 game, but I haven't played any after this one, so I'm not the one to judge. F1 2020 perfected the career progression system, and the AI were more forgiving and less aggressive in a way which would cause you to DNF. Overall, it's a very pleasant experience, and you can basically only go down from here. 2021, F1 2021. Brand new tracks, selectable old world champions, and a ton of fun. On top of that, a brand new story mode option which follows the life of Aiden Jackson, a British racing driver wanting to get into F1 and win the world title. The story spans 3 years from 2019 to 2021. There's also an option to play the good old story mode with you as the player in any of the teams on the grid. 2022, F1 22. One of the more hated and more controversial releases of the franchise, F1 22 introduced a new naming system as well as something called F1 Life. Something nobody asked for and nobody wanted. You basically treat your avatar like a human, buying sofas, carpets, and clothing for them. You don't have to, and in a racing game, some people actually did. This game also introduces supercars and safety cars to the mix, which you can drive freely on the track or complete speed and drift challenges with them. Something actually fun. Also, F1 23 is supposed to drop a gameplay trailer soon, but since I'm making this video in early April of 2023, nothing is out there yet. I'm 99% sure that visually it's gonna be the same. (2022) F1 Manager 2022. Yes, I repeated the year again, but I feel like both F1 22 and F1 Manager are important releases. The original for its controversy and f***ing F1 scam life, and the Manager game for what I believe is a brand new beginning for Manager games in F1 world. This game offers everything all the old Managers did and more. Well, apart from asking sponsors for a custom amount of money. Teletext is still winning that one. This one, however, is incredibly complex yet easy to understand. There are real-life radio messages from the real drivers and race engineers, making the game feel extremely real. You can sign just about anyone from all the way down in Formula 3 if you trust them enough. Or if you're broke. The upgrading system is also pretty neat, and the races, come on, the races are amazing.